Hello, lovers of freedom. Hello, everyone. Be you a Biafran or just whether you're Nigerian or a citizen of any country all over the nations of the world, as long as you are watching this broadcast this day, I greet you from here, whether morning, afternoon, night, whatever your time is saying now. I welcome you to this live broadcast. And we would always come on to discuss issues that concerns our freedom and the freedom of everybody who is part of good conscience all over the nations of the world, especially Africa. Africa has been bound in the chains of slavery, and this is the time that we have decided to recover our lost glory and get ourselves out of the shackles of slavery and shackles of bondage. I greet you all and I welcome you again to this broadcast. My name is Kelechi Ambrose and I'm broadcasting live from on social media and on Facebook and also on YouTube, Biafra Global Network on YouTube. I welcome you to this broadcast. Now, today I want to look at critical things that concern us because we have gotten to the stage where lots of sieving will be done, where the chaffs will be taken away from the wheat, and this is the time where we are no more, going to be entertaining distractions, especially in a critical way. We're not going to entertain distractions in critical ways this time around, and we are very set to get our freedom this time around. Nobody will distract us. Nothing around will distract us. Nobody's actions will tell. When you are getting closer to getting some stuff, especially when it has to do with freedom, there are people who will be paid, especially by the agents of darkness, to try to manipulate the whole thing and get you distracted. That is what we have been seeing. We have been seeing lots of distracting acts coming, but we are wrestling it anyways. Now, I want to talk to us this day. Remember, the deadline for the military to leave our land, has elapsed. And of course, today we're going to be hearing from the spokesperson of Biafra, Mazi Simon Ekpa, who is going to be talking to us and who's going to be telling us the next move. Remember, Biafrans, whenever you get an instruction, from the spokesperson of Biafra, the best thing that can happen to you is to carry out that instruction or those instructions very, very quickly and as you are told. My worry my concern is that most Biafrans, especially those ones in the villages, and in the east over there, in Biafra land, most of them seem to not be stable with what they are looking for. Most of them I talk with, you discover that they are either here or there. When you talk about Biafra, yes, they want Biafra, they want freedom. But then when you talk about election, they begin to mention Peter Obi. I don't know where they stand, but the truth about it is that we will not blame them. There's these devious acts that have really affected our people, all over, all this while, and especially in the context of slavery. It has affected their mentality. It has affected the way they behave. It has affected the way they operate and all of that. So you won't really blame them for what has been happening. That's why we try to lecture them. I was talking with some Biafran, I was talking with her and she was telling me, we were talking about, I was trying to teach them and also to inform them on how they should be very careful these days because some things are going to be happening soon. And we are, of course, going to be going very tough to receive our freedom because one of the criteria to receive your freedom is to be tough and to apply force. And of course, we want our freedom between now and 2023. So we're going to be applying every reasonable force, that makes sense in the context of freedom fighting. We are not killers. We're not terrorists, but we apply force. Application of force does not make you a terrorist. There's a part where you need to, in life, when you get to life, you have to apply force to deal with things and issues around or surrounding things that concern you and concern your well-being. You have to apply force, especially, for instance, when you are robbed, when you are being attacked. If there's a need for you to apply force to save yourself from being attacked or from becoming a victim, and then of course you have to apply it, and then all of that. So that is what we're doing at this stage. And I was talking with her, and then she we came up. She's along the line. She mentioned the issue of election, and I said to her, I said, "Why are you talking about election? I'm talking about freedom. Why can't you people be stable when you need to understand some stuff?" And why I said that to her was because she said, "Well, if they appoint her as an ad hoc staff for the election, she'll be very happy. At least she'll make some money. She'll make some fucking money." I said, I was just shocked. I said, "Can you imagine how our people reason? This issue of money, money, money. Now, let's even if they employ you as an ad hoc staff for INEC and they give you 50,000, and then before 1 month, your 50,000 is gone, and then you now go back to square one. Then how does that set you free? How do you people reason at all?" Anyways, I was able to lecture her, and she understood, and she saw the perspective I'm coming from, to make her understand that focus is very paramount to anybody who wants to achieve anything in life. If you want Biafra, you want Biafra. If you want Biafra, you can want Biafra at the same time want elections. It's not possible. There's no way you can be talking about Biafra. There's no way you can be talking about freedom, and at the same time talking about being part of the election that is coming in the contraption of Nigeria. If the election is coming in Biafra, that is a different thing. But the election is coming in the camp of your enemy. You can't endorse your enemy. You can't endorse your enemy by participating in the activity of your enemy and still expect that you are going to, become free, and expect that you will not be a victim of your enemy. You will continue to be a victim of your enemy. So that is the context of what we are talking about. Today, I'll be talking about some critical things. I want to talk about, the characters of betrayers. The characters of betrayers. Now, so many issues have been going on social media, you know, well, you cannot take that from social media because that is where people will always air their views. That is where people want to say what concerns them. That is where also we have news as an opportunity to spread the news of Biafra, to spread the news of our freedom to the people. And of course, people have their varying mindsets and the way they reason. So when you come on social media, don't always react immediately because you will always have people who will come with their mindset and based on the level of their understanding. You know that slavery has really affected our people, that they talk anyhow, they behave anyhow, they think anyhow, and they are scared of what will happen to them, that would be worse than what is happening to them. People are so battered that they think that to get themselves to fight for freedom, and based on the brutality of the masters, the slave masters, they see it as another load of pain, in their neck. So they want to stay away from it. That is one of the reasons why you see most people fighting against, freedom, fighting against, what we're doing, and you can blame them, but of course you also blame them because if you get yourself in a situation that has been bothering, that is so prolonged in your life, coming from the days of your fathers to this time, and you still want to remain in that situation, then something is wrong with you. If you find yourself in a situation, the first thing that you do is to analyze the situation, know the root of the situation, and find out why this situation has persisted, and think of a better life. One major thing that should be on your mind is a better life, so that you can now deliver yourself from the claws of what has held you down and the curses that have held you down. Our people love religious jingoism and religious activities. They go to church and they pray, fall down and die, fall down and die, fall down and die. They don't ask themselves critical questions. What is falling down and what is dying? If something is falling down, then check what do you expect to fall down and what do you expect to die. If something is going to fall to die, then you must understand what makes that thing living first. What is making this thing? What's making it to live, that it has to fall and die? And how do I think that what I'm saying, that it should fall and die, would be able to make it fall and die? And which means that before anything falls to die, then you have to take life out of it. And how do you take life out of it? You take life out of it not by just saying it, but by taking action. That is why Fulani will come after you. They will come to cut your neck. You know why? They take action to take life life out of you. They take life out of you by taking action, because they believe that what happened, people see that the backward belong to us, and to stop the killings and all of that, the things that are happening. Now, I want to talk about these betrayers, because the truth here is that lots of betrayal is going on right now, especially when money is involved. Money is being circulated. As they are circulating money for election, part of the budget of the money for election is going into funding those people who are going to help them betray the struggle Biafra or the liberation move Biafra. And of course, we IPOB, under the auspices of the autopilot mood, being, directed by the spokesperson of Biafra, Mazi Manepa, and also under the direction, supervision, and total leadership of Mazi Nambekano, who is the head of the IPOB movement, and who is the one who have set the system, into the autopilot mode. We are strongly ready to take them on, because we understand that now they are disbursing money to their agents to stop what we're doing, to stop the process of carry we're doing, and stop the process of us achieving success. And so we understand that part of their electoral budget is they're funding big time to fight the people who are asking for their freedom. And that is why you see people, all these betrayers, jumping from one post to the other as if frogs as they are, and trying to castigate or to disrupt or to talk against or to attack or to do whatever they know how to do, because they already are part of the budget. They're in the budget of these criminals, of these politicians. The politicians are keeping huge sums of money to pay them so that they will be able to fight and try to make sure that the system, the system of IPOB is destroyed, so that the issue of freedom will not be talked about anymore. That is what they are doing, and they are critically doing it in coded ways. Now, if you look at this saboteurs, one thing you should understand, that sabotaging has been, or betrayal has been one of the factors in the world global activities right from the beginning of creation. So you cannot take yourself, you cannot wish it away. It is always there. Sabotaging, it has been there from time. Nobody can stop it. Nobody can stop sabotaging, because as long as you live in a wicked world, you will always have to deal with sabotaging. And the only thing you can do, to treat the issue of sabotaging is to devise strategies that will help you curb or to help you eliminate saboteurs and deal with them along the line. Because what is always going to be their resultant end is that they either going to be eliminated or destroyed or taken down. So one thing that happens with sabotaging is that they end up bad. Anybody who gets into the realm of sabotaging ends up bad. It is like that all over the universe. It is consistent. Nothing stops it. Anytime you are sabotaging, you will always end up bad. And that has been the situation of saboteurs. They always end up bad. And so when it comes to your time, as we are right now in the movement of freedom, as we are right now in the liberation stage, what we need to think of is how to bring down sabotage, to strategically stop them from stopping us, not wishing them away, not fighting to think that they will, or to wish or to fight in our minds and to get emotional about it and attack and abuse and all of that. All those things will not stop sabotage. Abusing is only a way of flexing your muscles, your emotional muscles, and draining your energy. When you get yourself involved in trying to abuse them, curse them, get mad as they are, in negative manner, because you have to deal with saboteurs in a mad way. And the mad way you deal with them is by structurally and constructively designing a strategy that will silence them, not by ranting with them and opening your mouth and talking anyhow and abusing and coming to their level. Anything they say, you rush to talk. Anything they say, you defend yourself. No, you are not countering sabotage like that. You will only strategically, just like what Mazi Samanepa is doing, strategically he's decimating and he's defeating saboteurs. That's what he's doing. Check his work, check every activity. Result every time. Result oriented, result oriented. Result oriented. Everything is just going as expected. Result oriented. Now I'm going to be talking about the attitudes of saboteurs, so that when you see them around you, and in this period of our critical movement to freedom, of course, we have few months to be to Biafra. How many of you know that? We have few months to be in Biafra, just few months, and we'll be in Biafra. Just few months. You remember the spokesperson of Biafra said, he said, some of you, it will take you by surprise. It will be like boom in your eyes. You just wake up and you find yourself in Biafra. When he's saying that, he's not saying that for formality. He's saying that because the strategy has been put in place to achieve that. And when he tells you that he knows when Biafra will come, he's not joking. We know as much as we know that he knows when Biafra will come. So when you are hearing some certain things, what you need to do is to know that especially when you see that this person who is talking, the person who is talking has actually been getting results and everything he has said comes to pass. He has evidences of everything. He has evidences of, the actions. He has been putting actions. He has evidences of those ones who have betrayed. He has evidences. Anything he does, he proves, he brings evidence. So you think he would want to now come and disgrace himself or mess himself up by telling you that he knows when Biafra will come and he's joking? No, he's not a joker. He's serious. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu himself knows when Biafra will come. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has a cordial understanding with Mazi Simon Ekpa. And this cordial understanding comes by the time, by the time which we saw when he was extraordinarily renditioned and brought to, Nigeria, and then you saw his actions. That tells you that there is something about his agreement, covenant with Mazi Simon Ekpa, which he wanted to quickly activate. Now, let me tell you something. Before Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, was extraordinarily renditioned, he knew that he faces daily danger. He knew that he faces danger at all times. He knew that every day he wakes up and moves around is a danger to him because of the job and the process of activities he carries out on behalf of freedom. You know why? Because danger is all around. Everybody around, including Britain, where he is, don't Biafra to be free. The Fulanis also, and the wicked agents of Nigeria, and the enemies of Biafra, all over the nations of the world, don't want Biafra to be free. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu knew that he was always in danger. And don't think that he is so stupid that he never had a plan B in case he gets into a sudden danger. That's one thing that most of you don't understand. And especially these people who are always arguing to support saboteurs in our midst, the sacked DOS people, those people who are supporting these sacked DOS people. One thing you should understand is that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu actually had a plan and program that takes effect immediately he gets into trouble. If you listen to his last broadcast, he said something critical. He said, many of you will be brought over. Who was he talking about? He's talking about people within. You don't say that people within will be brought over if they are not within. You don't say people will be brought over if they are not part of you. Because it first takes somebody to be part of you before you can say they are brought over. So when he was saying that some of you will be brought over, it simply means that the people were first part of what he is doing. Just like when Jesus said, one of you will betray me. He was talking to those inside. It is not outsiders that betray. It is insiders that betray. So when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said that some of you will be bought over, but your being bought over will not stop the work from going on, he was actually saying that you have been part of the work, even if you are doing it to favor yourself, even if you are doing it as a saboteur, even if you are doing it as in a selfish manner, or in a rebellious manner, or in an inconsistent manner. Even if you have been doing this, but you still will be bought over, because that is actually the program that you are called to achieve in this thing. Because your ability to be bought over simply means that you will not be part of the system, and at the same time you will end up bad, and at the same time the system will will grow and increase and get results. Now, if you check it out critically, you will discover something critical, that every time there is a sabotage against something that is of truth, just like Jesus talked about truth, and Pilate was asking him, what is truth? Sorry, Pilate was asking him, what is truth? Truth has to do with something that is real and that is spiritually designed to be achieved. When you talk about truth, you must link it, or you must understand that there is a spiritual connotation to anything that is truth. Truth is a factor that is beyond human imagination. Truth is strange to humanistic ideals, especially when you are devious, when you are evil. Because the fact is that it actually wants to bring to light the factors of justice, the factors of truth, restoration, the factors of positivity, and the factors of domination of the universe and the domination of the human and sphere of existence through the application of right judgment and process to liberation. So these things now govern the acts of mystery, so that those who are living outside truth begin to wonder, what does truth really represent? They see themselves because anybody who is living outside truth actually has lost hope. They don't have hope of the future. Just like when you check out for the lives of saboteurs, they don't have hope of the future. They don't believe in the future. How do you know who believes in the future? What they do now against the future. Anybody who is sabotaging right now is only thinking about self. It's not thinking about the future. You know why? Because when you are thinking about the future, you will do what you need to do right now that will favor the future. So when you see somebody take bribe, against his own freedom, or take bribe against a particular cause that favors humanity, they are not considering what happens after that. Because if they are taking the bribe, it means that they don't want this thing to move further. So they take the bribe. Now, as soon as they take the bribe, they have already told you that they don't consider even their children that is coming. Because their children that is coming will always come to meet that same problem. Now, that is the critical situation of saboteurs. They are always thinking of self. They don't think of others. So now, as I was saying, when Mazina was kidnapped, and extraordinarily renditioned, he was actually not taken unawares. If you had listened critically to his last broadcast, you will understand that he was actually ready for anything at any point in time. Even some of the interviews he had granted, and some of the things he had done, he said, if you don't find me, burn down the country, which means that there is a plan that should be devastating to the enemies if he is not found anytime he is taken away from the scene. When he says, if you don't find me, it simply means that when they take me off the scene, however they take me off the scene, as long as I am in the camp of the enemy, I am out of the scene, because I will not be able to be effective from the camp of the enemy. I will not be able to send information or give you instructions or pass information to you or give you instruction of what to do from the camp of the enemy, because there's no way I can do that. I don't have the means. I don't have the freedom to do that. I am restricted. I'm caged. So if I am caged and I am taken away from the scene, if you don't find me, take action. Take brutal action, forceful action that will bring about this thing we're fighting for. That was what he was saying. As simple as that. When he said, if you don't find me, anytime you look around, you don't see me, burn down the zoo. What he simply means is that when you find that I have been restricted, I've been taken away, because if I'm with you, I give you orders on what to do. But when I'm not with you, you can't take orders from me because I am not with you. And when I'm not with you, it simply means that it's either I have been taken down, I've been killed, or they have attacked me and killed me, or they have put me in a place where I will not be able to give you orders. And at the point where I have not been able to give you orders, I have already given you order. The order is take down the zoo. Now, I don't know whether we're understanding it. So when he says now that when you don't find me, burn the zoo, you find yourselves in a situation where you cannot get orders from me anymore, or where I cannot tell you what to do anymore. I have already given you an order. This is the order. Take the enemy. And that is what the understanding that Mazi Samanepa is flowing on. Some people are just so daft that they don't understand some critical things. And we don't blame them anyways. They are just what sometimes when people don't understand something, it's not because they can't understand it, it's just because of their selfish end. When Judas Iscariot was listening to Christ, all the preachings Christ was making and all of that, proving that he has come to redeem humanity, why did he have to go and sell him when he knows that this person's mission is to save? He has to sell him because his selfish end has beclouded his normal reasoning, so to do the odds against the man who is come to save the people. Now, Mazin Namikano said, Burn down the zoo when you don't find me. Now we have come to the situation where we can't find him. He is somewhere locked up. He's when he says when you don't find me, it simply means that when you cannot get instructions from me anymore, when I cannot be in a position to be instructing you. Because when you cut somebody off from where they can give orders and dish out orders, of course, orders rule a particular organization. When you have a company, what rules the company is the principles or the orders of the company, or the leader or the person who is in charge of the company that instructs and gives instruction based on the template of what we want to achieve. Now, the template of what we want to achieve is to achieve is Biafra. The template of what we want to achieve is freedom. So, if the template is freedom, then there is somebody who directs the course of the freedom, Moses Nambekano. And he now says that if you don't find me, the template is still to achieve freedom. So now, the only way you can achieve it when you don't find me, the only way you can achieve it is first to burn down the zoo, which is my part of my program. But now, when you don't find me, just go ahead and do the same thing that I have in mind. That's what he was saying. But they come and they manipulate it and they say so many things. So now based on that fact, Mazin Nambekano is very smart. Of course, we know that. Based on the fact that he has said that when you don't find me, you burn down the zoo. He now had here. Of course, you should know that he knows that at that point in time, you should know that he knows that he might be missing in the scene at any point in time. He might be attacked. He might be a victim. He might be somehow. He knows that there are lots of enemies around him. So he knew that there may be an attack. So what he did was that he had a plan B. He had a plan B of a message. So as soon as he got the opportunity, quickly he forwarded the plan B. He told Bazi Samanepa, who is the one to activate what he has said, burn down the zoo, go on with the work now. Now he told them, give him the opportunity to be on Radio Biafra to talk to the people. Give him the opportunity to talk to the people. He was given an instruction through the lawyer, Ejiofor. He gave an instruction. Let Mazi Ekpa take over and let the funds be transferred to where he can access them, so that he'll be able to do the work. That was why he said that the funds that Naya, Anya, and all of that having should be transferred into the main account where he can access. But when we saw now that things are, that's another story for another day. Anyways, this is not what we come to talk about today. But the fact here I want you to understand is that the movement of Mazin Nambekano to the DSS stronghold, to their dungeon and restricting him is an activation of burning down the zoo, which of course he instituted when he raised the dragon flag. From the point of raising the dragon flag, he had already begun that process of burning down the zoo, because the only way you can end terrorism, the only way you can end servitude, the only way you can end this subjugation, the only way you can end this Fulani conquest program is to burn down the zoo. There is no two ways about it. If you want to be free, you must fight forcefully to get it. There is no two ways about it. They know it. Fulanis know it. Everybody, even the so-called priests and those people who are trying to deceive you in churches, making you feel like everything is good. Just pray. We pray for Nigeria. You keep praying for Nigeria. Anywhere you want to find anybody who has lost the Spirit of God, you just hear their prayer points. Pray for Nigeria. They don't have the Spirit of God. They're fish. They're concerned about their own ends because their ministry and church or their ministry is in that contraption. So they don't want anything to happen to their building, their structure, the things that they have set. They don't want anything to happen to them, so that they will continually have access to the people. At the same time, keep having access to the people, having funds. They don't want anything to happen at that point in time, so that the people will keep bringing their tithe and offering. Their structure, their investment will continue. They have structures, they have buildings, they have schools, they have everything that they have built in their name, not in the name of the church. If they die, the thing runs in the family. The wealth and everything coming from the people whom they take their tithe and offering from is coming from the people, and at the same time it's going to them, because they are the shareholders. They are the ones who own the system. They are the ones who own the resources. That is fact, and nobody can take it from us. Nobody can take that fact from us. So forget about all these shenanigans from these people. Now we are back to the fact. Now we are talking about what Mazin Nambekano have said, and he has said that the zoo should be burned down, which is of course part of the program. Just like South Africa also burned down the system of apartheid, to get their freedom. You must burn down something to be able to get something else to stand. You must take off something to get something else to stand. If there's something here where I am now, there's a structure or something around here, the first thing I do is to remove what is here and then put something else. That's as simple as that. So that is what it is. And that is what we are doing. And now, of course, we know that to this evening, we're going to be hearing from Mazi Samonekwa, the spokesperson of Biafra. He's going to be speaking the mind of our leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, tonight, to make us understand the next move. Next thing we have to do. Remember, it's all about taking instruction, and all you need to do is take instruction, not about prognosing and asking and wanting to know what is going to happen next. There was someone who was asking question. Now that we have given the order, what next happens? They have not obeyed. If by the end of the month they don't move, and what else? What are we going to do? You don't ask such kind of stupid question. That question is extremely stupid. What you need to do is know that before someone gives an order, there is a plan on ground. Anyways, let's get back to the talk. Now, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, when you don't see me, burn down the zoo. Plan B activated, which means that there is somebody who is going to carry out that plan of burning down the zoo. As soon as he had the opportunity, he spoke to the person. He said, give this person the opportunity to take my place in that Radio Biafra. He would have as well said, Chigodozium, take up my place and keep broadcasting in my place. He didn't say so. Might have said Chinasa, take up the place. He must have said Darlington. He might have called one of these saboteurs, to take the place. Take his place. He never said anything like that. He said, give Samonekwa that slot that is mine to cover up until I'm back. As simple as that. That alone is instructive. That alone gives a far more definition of decision, of critical decision of the leader. That reveals the content of his heart. That reveals the operational base and the strategy in which he has adopted to burn down the zoo, which he said, if you don't find me, you burn down. That explains a deep plan and program that has been set right from time. So he said that because, now two things he dealt with. One, leadership, two, finances, because he knows that leadership requires finances. So he said, transfer these monies here so that this leadership I'm instituting now that will represent me will take or get access to finances to do what he has to do. That is what he did. And so that came to pass. Now, the DOS, which have been sacked, the people who actually were, called the DOS, which of course they are not the DOS anyways, they were just members of the DOS. The DOS is a structure, Directorate of State. It's a structure, for the execution of programs and carrying out the activity of, DOB. But the names of those people who were there then were not the DOS. They are just members of that body. They could be taken off, they could be removed, they could be sacked and all of that, especially when they move away from truth. And suddenly, of course, we have sacked them because we carried a vote, because we're already in the autopilot mode. So we had to carry out a vote, and that vote got rid of them. Now, there's something about one point I want to raise about, now we're going straight to the point of the things we're talking about tonight. This afternoon, some of the things we're talking about, some of the things I want to say about the characters of saboteurs or characters of betrayers. Now we're entering the point. As soon as our leader was kidnapped, the first thing that happened was that he was spited. They refused to obey his instructions. Because one, that brings us to the first point of how to recognize, saboteurs. They are opportunists. Now let's look at it critically in the context of what transpired and the things that went, that played along the line. Second Kings of the Bible, 2 Kings 16, talked about a man called Shimei. As soon as Absalom, the son of David, plotted a coup and wanted to kill his father, and his father was running away, Shimei, who had been a servant of Saul, came out and started cursing the king. All this while David was on the throne, he never cursed him. He spited the king, he abused the king, he said so many things against the king. He talked about how God has not called him, how God's proven to be God, and God has shown him that he is not the one appointed, that his hands are soaked in blood. He said so many things against David. Now David, Abishai, who is David's strong hand man, said, "Let me go and remove this man's head." See the way he's talking to the king. David said, "No, leave him. Maybe God has permitted him." Now let me relate this to what is happening right now. When Mazinambika was kidnapped, and suddenly he gave an instruction, the first thing that happened was that he was despised, just like this Shimei despised David. Whenever you want to know a saboteur or a betrayer, you know it by their action more when the head or the leader gets into trouble. As soon as the leader gets into trouble, the first acts they take on, or the things, their reaction will prove that they are dangerous. When Mazinambi Kanu was kidnapped, the first thing that happened was that he had, when people say that Kanunta and Co. didn't actually sell our leader, blah, 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 they're trying to defend him, I just laugh. The only time I know your heart towards me is when I get into trouble. As soon as I get into trouble, your action at that point in time, your action that proves the truth of your behavior and acts will tell me what you already have in mind. So when he was kidnapped, of course we saw it. The next thing that Kanunta did, of course it might not be Kanunta alone, other people too who knew, they kept quiet. Kanunta told the secretary, "Don't say anything yet. Don't say anything, not even don't say anything yet. Don't talk about it. Don't tell anybody, just keep quiet." And suddenly he started doing the same thing Shimei did to David. How did he do that? He started giving orders, dishing out orders, counseling sit at home, talking against sit at home. Hey, we don't have to go on sit at home because it will affect the students who are writing exams. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. He took actions against the leader. That proves that he's a saboteur. He's an opportunist. He came into the system and tried to take over. Now, that is one of the characters of saboteurs. They do that. Check 2 Samuel chapter 16 from verse 5. You see the story. Or from verse 6, you see the story of Shimei. He was there abusing. Now, when you find a saboteur, the first thing they do is that they begin to despise the one they actually, check it out. Check it out. How do you know Emeka Mefo? Look at the things he said. Of course, he has been doing his saboteur work right from time when Mazinambika was here trying to get attention. He was keeping him quiet. Now, if he truly loved this man, he wanted the good of the man, even if the man had made any error, according to him, saying they don't listen to him, he had made error, he has gone out of the track and all of that. If the person has gone out of track and you truly love the person and you love the mission, and the person has gotten into trouble, what are you supposed to do first? The most important thing for you now is, oh my God, I know that we disagree. I know that we don't agree. But this situation now for this man, no, it's not a good one. We have to think of how we're going to rescue him. So after rescuing him, then we can now think of how we can continue our talk and lashing ourselves. When I find that you are in trouble and the first thing I do was to rejoice, it means that I want you out of the system. I want you dead. I don't support you. I am a betrayer. I am not actually interested in your well-being in the first place. So that is what happened. So as soon as he did that, it actually proved that he actually wanted our leader off the track. He wanted him out. So you now see the first behavior of saboteurs is that they will always betray. The betrayer comes first, in the course in course of attitude and character. And one of the characters is that they are opportunists. They now want to take. Now look at it. Now let's look at it critically. How do we say that these people are opportunists? Who are opportunists? Opportunists in the first place. Opportunists are people who place expediencies above principles. Expediencies above principles. They take immediate, ultimate actions and acts against the natural ethic of behavior without considering the ultimate implication or consequences. They just go take undue actions. They don't consider the implication or the consequences of their actions. They place expediency above principles. Now, what is expediency? Expediency is actions that hasty acts, because you saw the opportunity, you clearly want to take it at once. You just want to take an action that will give you an advantage, an undue advantage, an advantage of mischievousness. That's undue advantage, an advantage that actually what is intended for self-gratification. So what saboteurs do or betrayers do first is that they are opportunists. So they get into that realm of taking advantage of the situation. So what the DOS and all of that did, some of them who were not part of the, some of those people who were not part of the first initial kidnap of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, what they now did is that they became opportunists. They capitalized on the fact that he has been kidnapped and they decided to take actions. Who is an opportunist? An opportunist is somebody who takes undue advantage, who considers and takes or lifts expediencies above principles. What are principles? Principles are ethics, are fundamentals, are things that are basic for the effectiveness of any activity or action. They are things that are basic. But saboteurs who are opportunists will always take expediencies as their priority. That's what they do. Check it out in the line of now look at it. Now let's look at it critically. Check the behavior of this so-called DOS sacked people who were in the DOS, and they are e-frogs. Check their activities and check the activity of Mazi Samanepa and the autopilot team. You will discover that the principle in the camp of, or let me not say in the camp, in the real people who are after the mind, or the person whom Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have given the control, to take control on before he comes out. That's Mazi Samanepa. If you check his operation, you discover that he places principles above expediencies. How do we know this? Check every action he takes. Principles. The principles of freedom fighting are in the characteristics of operation. So you cannot talk about freedom fighting without talking about factors that will weaken your enemy. Freedom fighting is meant to destabilize and weaken your enemy. Look at it. Sit at home is a factor that destabilizes and weakens the enemy. They are losing money every day. All over the southern part of all over the southern part of Nigeria. All over Nigeria, they're losing money because the vehicles coming from the north and everywhere that want to transport to the southeast cannot go. So they're losing revenue. So there's an action of weakening them, weakening their resources, their income, affecting their resources, affecting their income. So now that act is a principle of freedom fighting, because you must think of decimating your enemies financially, because the source of their strength is finance. That is why you see that the Fulanis and the Arab world want to conquer Biafra land. You know why? Because they know that the oil and everything is Biafra. So when they get the oil, when they get access to the mineral resources and every wealth that is in Biafra land, they can be making money and they can acquire arms and ammunition. They can do what they want to do and get what they want to get to be strong enough to fight the Western world, so that they can stand tall and be very efficient to subjugate other nations. That's what they want. So they want to get access to wealth. So now, the only way you can deal with your enemy is first to weaken their resources, their financial base, cut off, access to funds. That is what the sit at home is doing. We have not yet activated the fullness of cutting off their funds in all ways. The sit at home was activated. The other aspects are going to be activated little by little, and they are being activated right now. In fact, cutting off the oil, the crude oil flow, and all of that. These are activities that we move on, that we are taking on right now. So the first thing you do is that you cut off. That is principle of freedom fighting. One of the principles is to cut off the financial flow of the enemy. What has the sacked DOS people done to cut off the financial flow of the enemy? Rather, they give them ability to, to financially to excel. Permitting Anambra election was another way of allowing them to excel. The monies they spent for that election was actually giving them the result of what they wanted. If that election had been cancelled, you would discover that the money they had spent for, election materials and all that would have been wasted. That's the principle. Now, the main election now that is coming, we have said no election in Biafra land. They're going to try to, they're putting things in order, putting things together, putting logistics and all of that together to come to carry out election. We are destroying that. The activities of installing their leaders or their rulers in the east or in Biafra land is being destroyed. These are principles. You must think of the interest of the enemy and dissuade their interest. That's what it means to principles of expediencies. Check out all the actions. Check out everything they have done. They place expediencies above principles. What are principles? Principles are fundamental factors and ethical processes that help you achieve anything in life. They are things that makes what you are looking for founded on a particular course of action or a particular course of achievement. So if you don't have principles, you cannot achieve things pertaining to what you want. Principles help you to streamline your plan. Principles help you to actually have a template to achieving what you have to achieve. Because what you want to achieve in the context of principles, you have already laid down the strength that you have. You have already laid down the activities that you're going to carry out using your strength. You have already what you want to get through the strength and the capabilities you have, which have been laid already on the template. That is what it is. Now check it out. Just look at it. What we hear is on the underground work. What do you mean by underground work? For God's sake, you're working for people. You're working for a nation. It doesn't belong to you. This is a nation. Biafra is a nation. It's not your personal business. You tell me you're working on the ground for me. How? And I don't know what you're doing. And all I see is that people are dying and you're pointing fingers. Look at what Soludo did, exposing them recently. Exposing these killers. So I just want to take only 3, because I don't want to make this video long. Only 3 points of characters of rebels or saboteurs. I will not call them rebels, because rebellion is one of the characteristics or one of the characteristics of a saboteur or a betrayer. So that's the second point of that I have also. So opportunists are actually betrayers. Being an opportunist, when you capitalize on the situation. Now, most of these e-frogs, of course, what they do is that they capitalize on the situation now that they're getting little Richard card money and all of that. They capitalize on the situation that has befallen our leader, and because they hate someone, but they have they don't want it to be that he's the one doing what he's doing and he's the one who wants to help us to achieve what we want to achieve. They begin to betray and begin to talk and castigate. They don't care what. The opportunists will always do things without considering the consequences, the ultimate consequences, or the ultimate consequences that is involved. No regards for consequences. No regards. No, they don't care. They just carry undue actions without thinking of the consequences. How can an idiot come out to say that instead of Simon Ekpa to get us Biafra, it shouldn't come at all? Lord have mercy. That is critically stupid. That is critically evil. That is the level of evil and the level of exposure of their evil heart and their intention. That means that person was actually not interested in freedom. He's only actually interested in activities. Just be that there's activities, and then you get the people to contribute money so that money will be flowing and coming, and then you are taking action on that rubbish. Expedient, but not principled. They are expedient. They are taking hasty actions. Being expedient or expediency is a means to an end. And the end factor for them is that's their selfishness. It does not involve principles. So expediency actually deals with a means to an end, not involving principles. But those who actually now, if you say some people will say that Simon Ekpa is an opportunist. Now let's analyze it to know who is an opportunist and to know who is not an an opportunist. It's not by the fact of what they are doing, the action they are taking when the leader is not there. No. Their work must be based on a particular skill to understand who is an opportunist and who is not an opportunist. So what you now need to do is, Mazi Samanepa is carrying out some action, which of course draws an attention to him. Definitely, whatever you do must draw attention to you. The SAC people also were doing activities or carrying out activities, which also is drawing attention to them. So now let's lay these two on the scale to know which is expedient and which is principled. Let's lay it on the scale, the measuring scale, where we'll be able to tell who is actually an opportunist and who is actually not an opportunist. To know an opportunist, you will discover that the action they take would always be expedient rather than principled. Now, what is the principle behind allowing a number election? There's no principle. Because the enemy will get what they want to get, but you can also not get what you want to get, because you have not put them in a situation where you must get what you want to get. How can you tell me that you will allow election to hold when your leader is still held captive? You see, there's some things that happen sometimes. We begin to wonder how people reason. Your leader is in the camp of the enemy. You allow the enemy to have his way, still having your leader. You are not putting in place something that will make the enemy release him quickly to be able to have what he wants. You accept to allow him to have his way. And then after allowing him to have his way, you now want to go and talk about the release of your leader. And then after that, you begin to cry foul. They didn't keep to their word. You are stupid. That shows you that you don't even know what you're doing. Freedom fighting is. That shows you that they are expediently connected. They are not principled, because they don't know what it means to be freedom fighters. Not even because they don't know what it means to be freedom fighters, because they actually don't have the mindset of freedom fighting. They actually were there for greedy self-aggrandizement. Why would they even pay you to allow an election to hold? Chinansa and co were in Nigeria to collect the money. Edosiem was in Nigeria in December to collect money. They were paid. Now, if you collect money from the enemy, then it simply means that your purpose was to make money. Because when you collect money from me and you say you're fighting to be free from me and you receive gifts from me, it simply means that you actually were intending to get gifts from me, not actually, you were just placing the issue of freedom as a bait to make me bring out what I have to get so that you can now keep quiet. So as soon as that money was given to them, they allowed a number election. From then, they cancelled it at home. Now, let's just say that they truly wanted to actually get, to reach a truce, with the enemy so that our leader will be freed. What happened after the election was held and Mazi Nnamdi was not freed? The election was held and he was not freed. The election was held last year, I think it's September or so. About 11 months ago, almost a year, you said you had an agreement. They should release Mazi Nnamdi. And then as soon as you allow them to hold election, let's just say you were truly sincere and that is what you wanted. You want them to release him. So you permitted them to have the election. 1 year, almost a year ago, you allowed election. He is still in the dungeon. What have you done? Because every reasonable person, what they will do is this. Once I have election, and I know that you are a brutal and a liar, you will not allow you are always lying. You right from 1960, from 1950 something. They've been lying to you, telling you that they want good days. They will do that. Even all the promises, the campaign promises, they can easily keep. They are not keeping it. Even the election promises they make year to year, about 20 years now, over 20 years now that the election, they started this democracy in the so-called Nigeria. They have not kept to their words. And now they now came to tell you that they are going to release your leader, whom they spent hundreds of billions, paid you to be able to get information to kidnap him. They now said they're going to release him after paying you to betray him. They now told you that they're going to release him. Let's just accept that they actually meant to release him based on the fact that they have promised that they're going to release him since they have captured him. And the intention was for them to hold an Anambra election, to use him as a bargain for election. So you now permitted and allow them to hold the election. And now they're still holding him. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to, in the first place, as a freedom fighting body, you're supposed to have a plan that would make you take an action that is drastic against them if they don't release him. Yet they are in your land still killing the people. You are not saying anything. You're not making a mention of anything. You're not talking about it. You're not saying anything. You're not even talking. You're just there. And you want us to take it serious. You're not principled. You are expedient. And a sign, a proof of someone who is rebellious and who is an opportunist is the fact that they are not principled. Principle is the basis for truth. Principle is the basis for real intentions. So when we don't have these things playing out, it simply means that you're not principled. So how then do you expect people like us to believe in you? You are a sellout. You are a saboteur. You actually were paid. If you were not paid to allow an Anambra election to happen, you would have taken action. You would have put a template. Can you imagine that you are even fighting the seat at home? In spite of the fact that the enemy refused to take action, refused to do the things they are supposed to do to free the leader, you are still taking actions that would pad and pet the enemy. You are fighting the people who are angry and they say they want to sit at home to protest the action of the enemy. You are fighting the people. This is unheard. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The leader of the people, over 70 million people, is held hostage in brutal condition, tortured, dehumanized, disgraced, his rights taken away from him. Not that they caught him in crime. He was caught in his innocence. He was caught. Yet the so-called people who say they are working under him as members of Directorate of States, a structure that is supposed to be under direct control of this principled man, this man who has laid a template of IPOB on the principles of forcefully taking the freedom of the people. This principled man was unjustly taken away from everyone. And these people are sitting down comfortably, fighting the same people who are angry that their leader is taken, that their leader is not there. When the leader have said that when you don't find me, burn down the zoo. And you are saying that you have a way, you are doing underground work. For God's sake, if you wanted to do underground work, you don't need to have IPOB as a freedom body, because freedom fighters don't do underground work. They take action. They take obvious action that the people they are fighting for will feel. The underground work that freedom fighters do is that you go behind to meet and do the things they need to do, and you will be seeing the action, real action manifesting. But when you tell us that you are doing underground work and we are not hearing anything, we are not seeing anything, nothing is happening and all of that, then you are a criminal. I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to go too deep. I've only taken one point. I'm going to continue this broadcast because there's so many things I'm going to expose along the line that you have to understand. There's so many things I'm going to expose. And I want you to understand that these expositions are very, very important and key. Make sure you are part of the broadcast tonight. You know, today is the Wednesday, which is 17th of August 2022. We are already in the liberation phase, another phase of the liberation phase, another phase of it. That's a phase where things are going to be happening. The more you look, the less you see. The things are going to be happening, unusual things that are going to push us closer and closer to our freedom. Unusual things, they will just be happening. Things will be happening, and the enemy will be shaken. That's the phase where we are now. That's the phase where we are now. So we are already in that phase. So don't miss the broadcast of the spokesperson of Biafra tonight, because he's going to say so many things and some instructions will be given so that you know where to. And every Biafran must begin to look out for information, especially from the spokesperson of Biafra and from our platforms. We that are the media, the media force of the movement, because the IPOB autopilot mode has a force that is being driven by the media. So that is what we are doing. So you must listen and then take instructions and make sure you adhere to the instructions and pass the message across to other people so that they can know what's happening and they will know what is happening. And I want to tell you, I don't want to challenge every one of you and tell you to be very careful these days, because the times are evil and things are going to be happening right now. So thank you so much for being part of this broadcast. In case you have not watched, I know some of you are working on it, you can listen to it. And then you also please subscribe to the channel so that Biafra Global Network, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Biafra Global Network, so that you can get updates of the messages and the broadcast that will be coming out. I'll be dishing more information that you need to have, and I'll be telling us more things to understand and educate us on some critical things. So please be part of this and make sure that you are safe. Make sure that you don't become a direct victim of destruction by the gods by fighting what is you are not supposed to fight, fighting freedom. Make sure you don't get into that situation. So share this video, share it far and wide, and let people begin to understand, so that when they begin to see these saboteurs and these people around them, they know who they are and they can tell who they are, and then they can stand strong to defend the cause of freedom that we are all in. Thank you so much. My name is Kelechi Ambrose, and I see you next time in the next broadcast.